Hey everyone, welcome to Comic Book Fanatics, and if you're a subscriber, welcome back to Comic Book Fanatics. And I want to talk a little bit about taking care of your books. Now, if you saw my other past few videos of when I did some unboxings, there were a lot of books in there that were not well taken care of, and it looks like one, they just really didn't have a love for them, or they just didn't know any better, and you know, that's okay. But this is a little video that I want to share with everybody on how to take care of your books. Now, I'm sure there's a lot of other people's opinions out there, and different ways of actually caring for the books you have, but this is basically some of my opinions. So, and you're more than welcome to share what you have out there. Maybe that's something I could possibly benefit from as well as the rest of the community. But first, I wanted to start with bagging and boarding your books. Now, why is it important to bag and board your books? Well, if you're going to pay money for your books, you got to look at it as a sort of investment. And with any type of investment, you want to make sure that you care for that, and you definitely want to keep it in good shape as long as humanly possible. Now, some of the bags that are available out there, and there's a variety of different companies that manufacture and just produce these bags. And one of the most popular ones, I think you're going to get the most bang for your buck, is Mylar. And Mylar is basically more of a heavy sort of plastic, which is pretty much considered archival quality safe. Now, what does that mean? Archival quality is if you plan on just securing your books and not really taking them out of the bag for a period of time, then this is probably the way to go. Now, if you plan on caring for your books, but often take your books out of the bag and board, then another route to go would probably be something like a polypropylene bag. Now, if you notice the two different companies right here, I use a lot of the Comic Care brand for a lot of my books that maybe I paid cover price for, or not necessarily a high value book or a key book or a grail book. Now, for the Mylars, if I definitely paid a little bit more than what I did for a newsstand edition price, then by all means, I will definitely use Mylar to ensure that the quality of it and the security of it is definitely taken care of. Because like anything else, like I said, the love for your comic books, you want to make sure that they last for a period of time, and you definitely want to make sure that investment is well taken care of. Now, differences. Now, if you notice, there's a little description there that says 2 mil. All right. Now, what is 2 mil? 2 mil is basically the how do I put this? The measurement, if you will, of the plastic. And if you feel the difference between each of these, if you go for 2 mil to 4 mil, then you'll see the thickness in that plastic. Okay. Now, what does it matter as far as the thickness of the plastic? It matters because it's when it comes to protecting your book from sun or harmful UV radiation, you're going to get more protection from a higher grade mil, preferably a 4 mil. Now, there's nothing wrong with 2 mil, but when you go to Mylar, you're going to get more protection off your Mylar than you would your polypropylene bags. Okay, so and another consideration there too is just to ensure that you don't leave your comic books out where it can be damaged by the sun's UV radiation, because that's definitely going to cause some aging and some damage to your books. Now, for example, let me give you another example. I have these two book examples right here for you. Now, this one right here on the right is a 4mm Mylar protective bag, and the one here on the left is a 2mm Mylar protective bag. And what's the difference on that? Well, like I said, it's the thickness, and I'm not sure if you can really see that, but this is a little bit thinner Mylar. You notice it's a bit shinier. All right, and then the 4mm right here, you have a more of a thickness to the 4mm. Now, and with the thickness to it, you're going to get a little bit more durability as well. Okay, so that's the difference in that. Now, what I also like to do when it comes to bagging and boarding some of my Silver Age comics or my valuable comics, I like to double board the backs. The reason being is when I double board the backs, okay, it's going to cause it to be a little bit more stiffer, a little bit more durable. So that way, you know, there's not any possibility of perhaps accidentally bending it for any reason and causing any further damage to it, if that makes any sense to you guys. All right, so that's what you can see the difference now. And not to mention the Mylar itself, just kind of really brings out the color and makes your comic book stand out just a little bit more. So preferably when it comes to older comic books where a lot of the covers have faded out, when wanting to safely guard it, then you have a really nice protective sleeve here that's going to make the book come out a little bit more, I guess, a little bit more shiny or a little bit more presentable. And it just overall looks beautiful. All right, so I talked a little bit about the Mylar, and I also talked about a little bit about the thickness and the differences in the thickness. Now let's talk a little bit about now for beginners. Now, if you are going to start protecting your comic books and start bagging and boarding your comic books, make sure that you understand the differences in size from a Silver Age to a Modern Age to a Bronze Age, because they sell the different variations. And you don't want to walk out the store thinking that you have a Silver Age Mylar polypropylene bag, and when you get home, it was actually modern, and then your Silver Age comic book doesn't fit. And potentially and don't try to make it fit, because potentially that could damage your book or warp it, and you don't want to do that at all. So just be very, very cautious when you're actually buying these. And you can tell from of course, from the covers they give you, they'll tell you right here, current size comic cover, or BCW does current size up here, and another one is they'll show Silver Age right there, and forgive me for the quality that I'm showing you right here. I've been opening these up and utilizing them for a lot of my books. So just ensure that you understand when you have or when you purchase comic books, you understand the size differences, and you actually purchase the right size bags for that, and it's going to make a really big difference. And that goes for the same as when you do your boards as well, because your boards are definitely going to ensure, for example, this is Silver Age backer boards, okay, and then you have your Modern Age backer boards, and you just want to make sure that you buy the correct one, because when you actually put your boards inside the Mylar, they're specifically designed for that, so that there's not a lot of movement around when your book is secured, because any type of movement or just slamming the book down could potentially cause any type of damage. For example, it could cause the bottom of the books or the top or anywhere around the edges to crease or cause dings in them, and you don't want that, because you want to definitely preserve the quality of your book, and especially if you decide you want to go and get it to slab through a professional grading company like CGC or CBCS. All right. And another thing I want to talk to you guys about is the type of boarding that you want to utilize. Now, a lot of people, when it comes to fullbacks, there's the type that you want to get is called 100% acid-free backing boards. Okay, and if you plan on actually keeping your books and not taking them out of the bag and boards for a while. Ensure that it says for archival storage. All right, because that's going to be a little bit more. The quality is going to be a little bit more when it comes to being able to store them, and the acidity with the book is not going to cause it to actually imprint it within the boards. Now, there's been a lot of talk about what the type of different companies and bag and boards and everything. And you might ask, why is it important? Well, as papers in our books age, it generates a whole slew of deteriorative byproducts and contaminants, and which most are highly acidic. Now, the acid usually speeds up the paper degeneration. Okay, so it's rather a vicious cycle. You know what I mean? As the acid builds up within the paper, the production of the new acids is just greatly accelerated. So and that's the reason why we actually want to utilize acid-free backing. Now, if this buildup is stopped, the acid buildup is stopped, or if it's neutralized, then the acid will eventually eat through every the molecules of it, the bonds that the papers of the comic books, the fibers of the comic books, and then next thing you know, you're left with just a little piece of paper or just a piece of dust when you try to handle it. So just be very cautious, and that's the reason why for the acid-free fullbacks. And not everything is completely acid-free, and in order for it to be safe for archival storage, you need to make sure that it's a 3 to 5% alkaline buffer throughout, and it's and how do you know that? I mean, it's not really imprinted onto any of the descriptions on the paper on the front of the product, and it's really hard to, and you're basically going off the manufacturer's word that, hey, this is archival free, this is acid free. So what I usually do is whenever I get a back and board, and there's also been some discussion as well, what side would I actually lay the book on, because it always comes with a shiny side and it always comes with a flat side. I preferably like to use the flat side. The reason why is because with the shiny side you have a little bit more chance of it being more acidic. Okay, and with the acidity on it, after a while of being in there, once you take the book out, you're going to see an imprint on the shiny side, and I've seen that happen many of times. It's because of the acid, and what happens when that imprint actually stays on there, it takes the color out of that book. So you want to be very cautious, and that's why I use the flat side as opposed to the shiny side. Okay, now there's been some arguments of the reason being why some people prefer the shiny side as opposed to the flat side, but that's just my personal preference as far as this goes. So, and if you don't agree with me, that's fine. I totally understand that, but I'm just giving you of what I feel would probably be, if anything, a slower degeneration of acidity within the comic book. So that is basically it. And another thing as well is how you actually store your books. Okay. Now, what a lot of people do is when they put their books in, they either tape it on the top side, or they might tape it on the bottom side. Okay, and me personally, I prefer to tape mine on the top side. I don't recommend doing it on the bottom side, because there's a chance your book will slip out, and as we know, tape is a comic book's enemy. Okay. It's one of those things where if for any reason you take the tape off and actually slides down, then the possibility of tape getting on your book to damage your book is more of a chance than if actually being on top. At least on top, I can control the flow of the book if I decided to take it out. Anytime you want to take out your comic book from the bag and board, I recommend when you flip it over, either one, taking the tape off of it, or turning it where the tape is actually on the front of the cover, so that way you can easily slide without any accidental damage as you slide the book out from the tape. So just be very, very cautious on that. And anytime you put a book into its bag and board for the first time, ensure that you take all the air out before putting the tape on. Okay, because that's going to allow the excess of the cover to fold down easily, and you don't have a lot of oxygen in there. Okay, and what does oxygen do? It helps the acidity deteriorate any type of material a little bit more quicker. You can't completely get everything out of there unless you have some type of vacuum, of course, and that's why the specialists do that, the professionals do that with CGC and CBCS. So, so the best you can is just try to get as much air bubbles out of there as you can, because like I said, oxygen is going to help accelerate the degeneration process, especially when acid and oxygen is actually combined together. All right. So hopefully that helps you guys out and in the future. And the reason why, like I said, I did this video was to ensure that more books are taken care of, especially for newer collectors who haven't collected before, and they just don't understand the process of and the materials that are available when it comes to utilizing and the care and the products of your investments or your loved books or your valuable hobbies. Okay, well, thanks for watching, guys. I appreciate it, and hopefully this helps you guys out a little bit.